isiNguni should be one of the main international languages in this region. I speak isiNdebele. My brothers in Gwamhlanga speak isiNdebele. We have the Xhosa in Zimbabwe, here in South Africa. We speak isiZulu. I studied isiZulu in Zimbabwe. No, thanks a lot for the presentation. But when you said communist state, socialist state, I saw communists raising their heads. because there's never been a communist state. We have not yet reached that society or that stage. We are now going to questions and comments. We give one person a minimum of 3 minutes, maximum of 3 minutes to speak. We have heard our presenters. Unfortunately, as I said earlier on, the former minister, Dr. Rob Davis, we had connected him from Cape Town. He is no longer with us now. His load shedding schedule went off at 12. So if you have questions from the presentation that former minister made, you can raise your questions. Our secretary, Dorothy, is going to note them down. We will send those questions to him for him to respond. And then you can ask the presenters who are here. Also, we have the register that we are circulating. We'll want to continue having discussions with yourselves, so make sure that you write your name and the details in that register. With that today, we'll be moving around with the mic. The ADF is an organization of Africans and everyone. She is South African. I'm born in Zimbabwe, so do not say this is a migrant organization. Dorothy, our secretary, is South African. Moxine is South African. I'm a South African Zimbabwean as well. Let's see if you have questions. There's... Yeah, just...
Mandla.
Where to?
Mandla.
Where to?
Yeah. Angazi ukuthi khona abantu la. Kodwa ngibabonile abanye abayikhulu zami. Nginezikhalo nje eziningi. I don't want to
Sorry, if you were to introduce yourself, then you...
Thank you. I always forget that part. Sanibonani comrades. My name is Fundin Zemande. I am a community activist and also a member of the Communist Party of South Africa. I used to be a leader of COSATU, and I was a commissioner as well of gender and a commissioner for employment equity. So, comrades, I just wanted to, I was touched by the last speaker. He moved me very much, and I think he said something about us communists. I'm not going to respond to that. I'll start with this first issue. He said that South Africa is collapsing. And I think it's true. What I don't understand is why that is happening and why we as citizens of South Africa are allowing it, because I think we are allowing it to happen. And I'm concerned not about the ANC, what it will do should it lose elections. I don't think that the ANC will be in a position to resist anything, because when the people of South Africa are tired of you, they will not gossip about you. You will know. And I also am very scared for the people who are leading currently, because I've started seeing on social media that some people who are leading ANC in certain parts of the country are being terrorized by communities. And I'm just using that word loosely, terrorized, because the truth is the ANC has let us down. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed, because The ANC is an organization that was started in 1912. And it's an organization of previous generations of our families. But we cannot continue. Comrade, you are blocking me. But this is what is happening. You know, I love the ANC in terms of what the ANC stands for. But I've got issues with certain individuals in the ANC. So I will leave that there. I'm also concerned, Comrade, because you talked about things that failed, that we tried to do as Africans in the post-colonialism, post-oppression. But you don't talk about, you don't analyze the issues. You just say a lot of things as if there's no context to why things happened in the particular way that they happened. So I'm really a little bit unhappy about that. And when you talk about stable democracies, in Africa, we know why our democracies become unstable. Even here, I believe that the reason we are having the challenges that we are having, it's not because of Africa. It's because of foreign interference in South Africa. And people don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the people that we are given as presents to be our leaders. So these are the problems that we have. And I'm very, I'm heart sore. I'm so heart sore. Because the comrade said something that I agree with. If South Africa comes to an end, because as far as I'm concerned, this country is going for civil war. This country is poised for civil war. And when that happens, it's going to affect the whole of Africa. And I used to tell my comrades when they are, okay, I won't call them comrades, the other people who say that migrants, this and that, I used to ask them, what will you do when South Africa implodes? Where will you go? Because probably you'll need to go somewhere. And now I'm standing here looking at what is happening in this country. I'm like, anytime, it could be go time. So yeah, and the brain drain. Yeah, the brain drain, it's a real thing. But I also want to comment, the people who did not come home after the struggle, they are ill-disciplined.
Yes.
Simple and straightforward, ill-disciplined. Because they should have come here and contributed.
And the discipline cater, like my comrade Fundi will respect time.
I'm happy about everything that we have said about Swahili and borderless Africa, because that's what we are thinking.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know if it's morning or it's already afternoon. My name is Mr. William Liwacha from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I think each and everyone who has spoken here has mentioned about me and the people who are behind me. I'm not here to celebrate Africa Day because there's nothing to celebrate. We are here to talk about conflict and war. I was going to be invited to go where the president is going to for celebration. I said, I cannot go to celebrate because this is Africa. Africa Day means it's a day intended to celebrate and acknowledge the success of the organization of African unity. Are we united? From its creation on the May 25, 1963 in the fight against colonialism and apartheid, as well as the progress that Africa has made. Have we made any progress since so far? We are here to talk about conflict and war. In my country, there are both conflict and war, which were imposed by imperialism.
Yes.
So we talk about interstate war, intra-state war, imperialism, and we also talk about international war that the West has created in Africa so that we should not be united. And we are here talking about free trade. I wish the former minister was here. I was going to talk about that. And my comrade, please, thank you for mentioning that if South Africa collapses, all of us, we are down. All our eyes were in South Africa because that was the most industrialized country in Africa. But what the African Union did could not support South Africa. For South Africa to stand so that other countries should benefit from South Africa. Even though the West is trying to use South Africa to colonize other African countries, but they didn't make it. So if we can see that in that angle, we will see that South Africa has lost so many things. When we're talking about unemployment, it started when South Africa stopped manufacturing. I am a businessman.
You have a minute, comrade.
Thank you. I know we are communists. You want to save your time. Okay. We talk about South Africa because that's where I'm living now. And how can the African Union support South Africa to save those industries to keep on functioning? When South Africa stopped functioning, the industry in South Africa stopped functioning. That's why unemployment started. As a businessman, when I go and look for this one and this in each and every company, they tell me that wait after 5 to 6 weeks. And when I calculate after 5 to 6 weeks, I am already in China. I import those things. 4 weeks, they are here in Durban. So it means these people are importing these things from China. And now, if they are importing now in China, those people who are working hand on the job, what would they do? Today we are looking at McDonald's implementing self-service, and we are still keeping quiet. In my country, we are talking about conflict and war.
Thank you, comrade.
Thank you. Let me finish this one. Our neighbors are fighting against us. And here is MONUSCO, which is the mission, United Nations, that has been in the country since 1999 to protect us. But since 1999, we know what United Nations can stand for. Did they do their job?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you for cutting me off.
Let's finish this side, then we'll come here. We'll come this side. Let's finish this side. 3 minutes each, comrades.
Good afternoon, Salona. Angivuma benza ukukhuluma in all languages. Kodwa ngilindebela ngithi. Benza awusheni, machero inodekwana ngiyani. Just trying to say it's an African day that we are trying to talk about. I will mention only one thing that Comrade Bidos mentioned, which I have identified, as a major problem for us as Africans. He mentioned Bantu education.
Yes.
Our education system is so bankrupt ideologically. It doesn't give our kids a leverage when they go forward. What we are doing now, we are producing people who can read A, B, C, D, E, or write a theory. We have got no way the government has invested in overhauling the education system just like the Chinese and Japanese, so that at least our kids can be skilled, so that coming in the future they don't have to go and look for an investor. We are talking about Africa innovation coming together. But my question is, do we have the people with expertise and skills in the current generations? Because the generation that is speaking now, their time is about to come to an end. This generation that you're speaking now here, your time has come to an end. The children who are sitting in conflict countries now, if they have to be repatriated back to where they come from, what are they going to go back with? You won't have technocrats, you're not going to have educationists, you're not going to have anything. So our governments are only investing in education so that at least we can be going slaves to other people. I'm coming from Zimbabwe. I've visited some of the provinces. I'm not going to talk about the conflicts that are happening there, but I'm looking at what the government should be doing. In Zimbabwe, there's no infrastructure. If one other country is going to go and trade with Zimbabwe, in a distance whereby you're supposed to travel 30 minutes, let's say in a proper government, in a proper infrastructure, you spend about 8 hours in the road. So how is Africa going to address that if the people internally are failing to do it? Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's a comrade there. You can speak when you give.
I will not waste time because it seems you're tapping into my mind. Comrade Ian, I think you have done very well as a commissioner because Comrade Mkhize just said what was in my mind. What is to be done? I think then the overhaul of the pedagogical system, the entire education system of Africans is very necessary at the most elementary level. When a child starts to learn anything, they must learn how to produce. We are failing to produce. And this is the core of all our issues. So I will not dilute what he has said, because at the core, that is where we must focus on in overhauling our entire learning process and how to produce. Then Dr. Mava, I think we will need to sit down. I have a clique of communists here that really need to tackle you a bit. So I'll hand over to another comrade.
Good afternoon, everybody. Akir is my name, and I'm going to speak as a South African that I am. And I think the problem is that we are not patriotic as Africans. This is the challenge we face as Africans. We are not proud to be Africans ourselves. We want to get our education from the Americans, from the Europeans, from the British. We want to go there, and that is the education that is being imposed upon our children. That is the education that is being imposed upon us. We go to our educational institutions, then we expect to learn of our rich African history, but it has been diluted by an American or a British system. We were not only colonialized, we found ourselves imperialized. We find that the French took our resources. That's why we can speak the language. We speak English today. We are proud to speak the English language of the Queen, but we are not reminded that she colonialized us. Our African people speak the French language, but we forget it was the French who imperialized our people. They did not only imperialize us, they stole our resources. That's why our economies are collapsing. It is not collapsing because as Africans we are fighting one another. It is collapsing because it is owned by them. They own our lands, and they don't only own our lands, they own our governments. Whether it is South Africa, whether it is the Mbekis, the Zumas, whoever you want to claim in this country, they own our governments, they dictate our elections, and that is where our problem lies. Africans must rise. Africans must rise and take ownership of the land. Only when they will take ownership of the land and take ownership of the country and teach their children that we are Africans first. Yes. That we are Africans first. I am not a Zulu first. I'm not whatever culture I come from first. I'm an African, and I must be proud to be African. And I am calling on the intelligence, and I always call it the intelligence that tap into our systems and our discussions. Listen proudly. There's a young generation coming up that's going to do away with politicians, and they're going to rise and take back our land and our streets. Thank you.
I will now go back from once you are done. 3 minutes for you.
Is it afternoon already?
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Dawood Wandlovu. Ngizalwa uMavilakazi. Ozalwa uShandu kaNdaba. I won't take long. There's a story that is very famous of a character called Solomon. It comes in many religious scriptures. When Solomon decided to migrate, he went into a land and he had a bird called the hoopoe bird. And this bird was the bird that was actually the connection of the time, the cell phone of the time. Go and check what is happening there and all of that. And this bird, when it flew away, it came back. Solomon was not very happy because it went missing. But then it came back with the news to say, I saw something fascinating. I saw a lady that was actually leading the people. She was the queen of Sheba. And this lady, she's the one who is in charge of everything in the land. Then Solomon wrote a letter to this lady inviting her to his system, his belief. Now the lady receives the letter, long story short, and she opens the letter in front of the entourage, in front of the ministers, and say, ministers, I received the letter from a new guy that came through into our lands, and is inviting me to worship his God. What do you think? They said, no, you are our queen. Let's listen to what you have to say. Then the queen says, I have one fear. This is the story that comes, this answer comes in the scripture, in the Quran, that says, I have one fear. The fear is that in al-muluka idha dakhala qarya, when kingship, when the kingdom comes into a people, it comes into a city, afsaduha, they come and corrupt the land. And after, what do they do? وَجَعَلُوا عَيْزَّةَ أَهْلِهَا أَضِلَّةً. What they do, they then denigrate and disrespect the leaders of the people of the land. My cry is this. We have, whether we like it or not, we have colonial borders. Whenever people come to South Africa in my land, they disrespect our culture, they denigrate our heritage, they look down upon us. Our very Africans, we need to close the door and talk as Africans, and let alone the Europeans. Because those Europeans, whether it be the French or the English, they have taught us to look down upon one another. Whether you speak French, you look down upon the person that speaks English. This is the problem that we have. Keep our people uneducated, keep them poor, keep them uneducated, keep them poor, and keep them in constant fear of these wars. And they will vote for you all of the time. And this is the system that is used. Our African brothers, let us respect one another. Respect our lobola when we say pay lobola. Don't say this is nonsense. This is the land in which you have come through, and you signed whatever that you signed to say you will respect the land. Come and respect us. Let us lead you, don't lead us. Thank you.
Thank you. I gave you 4 minutes because I only sent you the invitation yesterday afternoon.
School, and my question is directed to both speakers, Prof. No, the communist. Prof, if my memory serves me well, Eurozone took about 50 years to come into reality. Now there is a talk now in the corridors about the BRICS currency into all the BRICS countries. So now, how is that going to be possible in terms of merging all these economies of scales in our continent? Yet now our politicians, our AU, Pan-African Parliament is lagging behind. You know, we don't know what are they talking about. Yet our economy, you know, it's leaving our shores. We talk of Africa Vision 2063. What do we do now, between now and 2063? Yet all the products that are building economy globally coming from our shores. Our oil from Nigeria is being cleansed in Europe, yet people are in abject poverty. So what's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? Our system of education, why don't we change it? Yeah, theorizing. So why don't we change radically? And then say, no, the buck stops right here. I think Rwanda has started so well by producing their own cell phone. So why don't we do the same in South Africa? Because all and other countries, Ghana, and then Amazonia, the oil, Francophone. The moment we're fighting, they're taking our resources. So what is wrong? What is wrong with us? Then say now we're taking action. Thank you.
Thank you. We now go. Okay. My time is hitting me. We need to go for lunch. Yes.
Sanibonani. Yeah, no, igama lami nguKhanyisani wakaVilakazi. Oh, Masukuma. Okay. Greeting everyone. You know, my name is Khanyisani Vilakazi. So I would like to apologize for coming late. However, I managed to get some of the key speakers. I want to say I'm partially covered by the speakers who spoke before me. Comrade Mabena, I'm not sure what after all these input and constructive ideas going forward, are they going to materialize? Because now we need to work on the timetable. Because I think this is a one-year event where we celebrate this day. So I want to believe that next year there will be at least maybe % of a progress on what is being put before us or on our disposal. Again, Commissar Ian, we have a challenge of what you call our parliament, a Pan-African parliament. My brother here, Dr. Brown, he alluded that we have, I'm not sure, skive or something, puppet. He used that word, the puppet, when he refers to Maputo Seseko. It's not only him. It might take us another millennium for Africa to be conquered. I don't want to lie to you. We have what you call money queen. You know money queen? That doll that they dress for the clothing when they advertise. It's our leaders. Yeah, it's our leaders. We cannot shy away from that. So mine, Comrade Mabena, please next year, if we do this happening, at least let's have that progress. See, based on what has been articulated today, what is the progress in 2024? My SACP activist, I want to assure the rest of the audience here, South Africa will never collapse. I want to assure you, South Africa will never collapse. ANC is supported, and then people will come that we entrust. That's it. We cannot be live in fear because of their internal squabbles. Some of us will know about it. Exactly what these guys are doing, they're displaying what you call their dirty linens on our expense. Next year we are going there, we're going to use our conscience. Yeah. And then they must move out, and then we'll see who we deem fit to run the affairs of this country.
Thank you.
Okay, one minute. Oh, okay, a few seconds. I'm sorry. Yeah. Few seconds. In the challenge of this African diaspora, there's African diaspora SA, there's African diaspora. So I'm not sure if you can balance me there. This one is directed to you.
Okay,
sure.
Thank you. Let's try to be brief, comrades. Let's start there at the corner. will come down.
Thank you very much. My name is Velile Moyo.